Creative Mornings, and I love Josh and Sean Louis from Brink, so I was like, heck yeah. And then I realized I got to start going to these things. So if I ever see you at Creative Mornings and I seem rude, it's just that I'm not awake. So I don't know about you, but I feel like creative people tend to be night people. That could be something that I tell myself that makes me feel better. But I was just thinking, Josh, maybe one day we could do Creative Mornings at night. I was sitting there thinking last night as I was typing this out, my favorite thing as a kid was when my parents would be like, all right, we're gonna do breakfast for dinner. And that we were all like, me and my brother and sisters were like, this is so awesome, we get pancakes and bacon. And now that I have kids, I just realized my parents were super tired. And breakfast is easier. My point is that I hope that even though my brain is still in snooze mode, that you get something out of this. I also am on day 3 of a caffeine detox, which is crazy. I'm drinking decaf, which is something I'm like religiously against, but here I am. So if you are thinking after you leave this, Nicole is not that great, you should meet PMB because I'm a lot better. All right. So we'll jump right in and talk about this month's theme. I was actually, when you said that, I wasn't sure if you asked me to do this and then preserve was the theme and it was like some kismet magical thing, but no, it was intentional, so cool. I love the fact that when you look something up in the dictionary, there's usually 3 to 5 definitions. So when I looked up preserve, I was staring at the dictionary or the computer screen because I don't have a dictionary anymore. And Oxford offered up 3, 4, 5 definitions, and a few of them could apply. One of them was food made from fruit preserved in sugar, such as jam or marmalade. And for like a split second, I thought, wouldn't that be hilarious if I just talked about jelly? And you guys are just like, what is that going on? In case you're wondering, my favorite jam is raspberry. It's a classic. Ultimately, I landed on this one. Preserve, to keep a particular quality feature to make sure that something is kept. Which might seem a little weird. There's another definition that seems more applicable when you're talking about the preservation of Hotel McCoy, which is a series of buildings and a property. You might think that I would have picked the one that said to keep something in its original state in good condition, but plot twist, the preservation of Hotel McCoy is so much more than saving a historical building, and actually in 1 year will be officially a historical building. You have to hit 50 years, and this place was eradicated in 1970. We actually are super focused on preservation, and we have 3 pillars of preservation. I'll let you guys try to guess what they are after we go over it. Oh no, what did I do? Okay, I did it right. I haven't done a PowerPoint, or is this PowerPoint?
Keynote.
Not done a keynote.
I went overboard in the
Since college.
transitions.
All right. I like it. So Jacqueline Robinson is a well-respected architect, and he has a quote that says, "I continue to be interested in new things that seem old, and old things that seem new." And that's sort of one of our mantras here. If you look at our freeway sign that says vintage vibes, modern perks. We as people, especially now more than ever, long for yesteryear. It's a safer and seemingly simpler time. But we are also cell phone addicted lunatics who do not want to step away from our Wi-Fi. So one thing I've learned on this project is that we want stuff that works in 2019 but feels like 1965. And maybe even more so, we love the brand experience of older things. As I see people, you'll see a typewriter out there. We have a lot of millennials that come, they're like, a typewriter, cool. And then they like spend an hour typing out one sentence. They're like, I'm over it. So we love the idea of old things, but we like the feeling of new things. So does anyone want to guess what, I'm going to talk about three pillars of preservation, 3 things that we're preserving here at Hotel McCoy. Does anyone want to take a guess what some of them are? I'm going to pick a random person. No, I wouldn't do that. Okay, you don't have to guess. So obviously we're preserving a historic building, but the second pillar is community, and the third pillar is the art of hospitality. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. All right, let's talk about this baby. And I call Hotel McCoy my baby because I gestated the concept of this place for 2 years before it was born. And if you know anything about gestation, elephants are pregnant for 22 years. 22 years, that was a long time, 22 months, yes. Did not major in biology. I'm not sure if anybody in this room has been pregnant before, but I don't think it's very fun. I don't believe in people that say, it was the most beautiful time of my life. I've done it twice and it was not beautiful. It was hard and scary and uncomfortable, but when your little baby is born, you don't even care. Like, you lie to yourself and say it was beautiful because you're so emotional that all of those gassy, ankle-swollen, heart-burning nights fall into the deep abyss of your beautiful baby's eyes, and your brain convinces you it wasn't so bad. And that is what it's like to renovate a neglected 93-year-old hotel. It was really, really tough, but I love this beautiful baby so much that we're actually ready to do it again, and they're looking at other cities, which is pretty insane. When the original Hotel McCoy team came together, none of us even considered a new building. I've had people ask that, and I realized, yeah, it was, no one in the room ever thought, maybe we should build our own place. It was always meant to be a renovation. And there's a few reasons for that. One, I bet you can guess, preservation. Older buildings are beautiful. This one in particular was designed in the mid-century modern era. The design of this property was in the mid-60s, right at the tail end of it, and it didn't get built until the 70s, but as you can see from the big beautiful arch outside and the beams in the rooms, that this is a classic mid-century modern motor lodge. We can envision, and I've heard stories since opening, I've had some people stop by that will say, I came here with my grandparents in the 70s and we rolled up in their big shiny, Cadillac, and we parked out front, and it was a big spectacle. And that's sort of what we're trying to reinvent here. You can see we have the Thunderbird out front. We want to preserve that, the property's essence as well as the building. When we found this place, definitely the bones were gorgeous, but the property was neglected. We love the idea of bringing the hotel back to life and giving it the personality it deserves, and preserving the happy, fun, traveling is more than getting from point A to point B mentality that it originally had. Beyond the feel-good, preserving a building rather than building new, not only does it make fiscal sense, it greatly reduces the carbon footprint of a project. We did replace all of the furniture, the flooring, and the linen, because if you've seen this place before, you would understand why. But we did not tear down the gorgeous beams that you see. Each room, we'll take a tour later, has these beautiful blue beams that run through it, and we just left those alone because they're super gorgeous, and we tried to keep the bare bones of this place intact because it deserved that preservation. And if you ever see, I'm going to call out 4 of the employees here, Jackie, Lynette, Reyes, or Zach sitting right over here. They have all worked here since we were a renovation project. And though they have leadership roles in this business now, if you had stopped by here in July of 2018, you would likely have found one of them building a bed or painting a wall. So our assistant general manager, our night auditor, our lead housekeeper, our housekeeping manager, and Zach, who's our facilities manager, they all had a part in preserving this property with their hands, which is really cool. So let's move on to our preservation pillar number 2, my favorite, preserving a community's culture and vibe. Okay, so how about, I like audience participation. So raise your hand if you've traveled anywhere in the past year, even to Phoenix. Okay, anybody who didn't raise their hand, I'm giving you a voucher. Okay, so raise your hand if that travel was for fun, like a vacation, no work involved. Awesome. Does anyone want to share what kind of hotel they stayed in?
Marriott.
Okay.
Hilton.
Hilton?
I stayed in one in Ketchum, Idaho called the Hotel Ketchum, very similar to
Cool.
this.
Of course you
Same
did.
kind of concept.
What about you?
The Expedition Lodge in Moab, very, not similar, but mid-century modern renovated.
Cool. That's awesome. And then raise your hand if you've traveled for work in the past year. Okay, and what kind of place did you stay for work?
Just last month, I stayed at the University Inn in Tempe, and it's a renovated mid-century
Cool.
modern.
What about you? You probably stay cool places.
It depends if we're trying to be cheap or not. I think
Yeah.
last time I stayed at this place called in DC, the District Hotel. It's a really run down cheap hotel.
Okay, so I love traveling and that's why I'm doing this. I love traveling alone. I love going on trips with my family. I like vacations, although it's been a very long time since I've had one. The kind where you're just slowly relaxed and you're just there to experience and have no agenda. But I usually am traveling for work. And 41% of hotel stays are business trips. And usually people get sent to generic, cheap, or chain hotels because their budget is $100 or under. And they get free breakfast, which is really great if you're a business footing the bill. There might be a pool, but usually the rooms are little boxes that can be in Cincinnati or San Francisco or Honolulu, and you would never know unless you peeked out of your little window and saw in the distance some sort of landmark. So when I do go on a vacation and go to like a resort, which also hasn't happened in a long time, but if Ritz-Carlton is listening and wants to give me a free trip, I'll take it. It's sort of the same thing. You could be on Cocoa Beach or you could be in Kauai, and besides the outdoor landmark, the interior is very much the same. They have awesome amenities though. And then there's personality hotels, which I think sometimes we get categorized as a personality hotel, which we're not. Personality hotels are very fun and they're full of entertainment, but oftentimes they're very internalized, so they're focused on the personality of the brand. We're doing something a little different. Hotel McCoy is focused on preserving the community that we are in. When you're here, hopefully, our goal is that you feel the energy of Tucson throughout this property. In the near year that we've been open, I've had so many guests say, this place is so Tucson, and I'm like, yes, it makes me so happy, because that is our goal, is to preserve our community and culture in a place. It was a very intentional decision to fill that gap in the travel industry, offering guests affordable rates, an incredible amount of amenities while preserving the culture of the community that we're in, so that they feel that they actually got to spend time in Tucson, even if they were stuck at their hotel most of the time. If you ever stay here, the beer we serve is all Tucson craft beer. The wine is all made right here in Arizona. Coffee is roasted down the street at Exo. Tea is from Maya Tea. The events we host are very Tucson-centric, and the art that you see is all by Tucson artists. That is something that I'm super proud of. Tucson is many things, but we are very art-centric. If you look around, every piece that you see on the wall was created by a Tucson artist. Every mural you see was painted by a Tucson artist. Our art project is kind of unique because we don't take a commission. So anything that's purchased here, which we sell about 5 pieces a week on average, the artist sets the price and they keep the entire price. The only exception is if someone pays with a credit card, the artist pays the credit card fees. But we don't take a commission at all. And then we've spent over 6 figures on murals. So this hotel has launched a few artist careers. We have people that had never displayed before that are now selling pieces to the mayor. We have an artist here who had just sort of launched her career and is now slated to do a TED Talk. People are getting the attention that they deserve, which is pretty cool. I think traveling is a gift and it should make you feel. Whether you're traveling to Phoenix for one day for work or whether you took your life savings and you're going to Tuscany, you should feel something. Hotels should not be given a pass and simply be a place to sleep and swim a lap. Not here anyways. We want you to experience your destination, even if you never leave the premise. We want to preserve Tucson's culture here. All right, so this is like my surprise. We are the third and final pillar of the preservation here at Hotel McCoy is the art of hospitality. And hospitality truly is an art. You can hone someone's talent in the field of hospitality, but it has to be natural at some point because it's an art of passion. And in an industry running towards mobile check-ins and in-app key codes so you never even have to see someone at a front desk, we turned around and we sort of started jogging back towards the start line. In this way, we are innovating by preserving the classic check-in experience. We do this because the reception and welcoming first impression is so key to a positive experience that our hotel would never dream of sending you to your room before telling you hello. Guests are greeted and welcomed. We do not script that welcoming because we want it to be authentic, only asking our employees to treat guests as if they were running their own little lodge. And they do, often asking, where are you from? What are you doing here in Tucson? Which launches into some very interesting conversations. Also asking them how they found us, because we are newer and we're weird. So one question you'll find employees ask is, what made you decide to stay here? And you get everything from, well, it was cheaper than Hilton. Or you'll get like, your reviews are crazy. Or you'll get the weird ones where it's like, we always stay at JW Marriott, but this place was so weird we had to try it. And I'm always like, because we have like this amazing pool and stuff, but like, no, there's no like bottle service here. And someone asked me the other day, how do I reserve the cabana? And I'm like, you sit in it. I had like a brief moment where I'm like, maybe we do need to do that. I'm like, no, that's way too bougie for us. On a side note, kind of deviating from this, we're launching something cool this summer. We're going to be doing a pool club, which a few hotels have done in Tucson. I don't know that many are, especially in this part of town, but for $25 a day, you can come hang out at our pool all day without staying here. Inspired by Nicole in her 20s in Tucson who had nowhere to go and would sneak into hotels and get kicked out. Want to give people the way to do it right. Oftentimes these guests, after their warm reception, find their way back up to the front here. They hang out at the bar, they sit on that blue couch, continuing the conversation with our team members. We don't do uniforms here, and we don't do name tags, because while that's classic service industry, that's not classic hospitality. We believe in order to create a connection between guests and their host or our employees, that both must be comfortable being their authentic selves. And it seems to be working. If you get bored and you're on your phone and you want to read through our reviews, friendliness and connection are two words that make cameos in a lot of them, and that is pretty incredible and shows that we are still preserving hospitality. So moving on from reception and connection to generosity. What about generosity? How do you make money and be generous? Because at the end of the day, this is a business and I have investors to answer to who want to see a return eventually. Well, one thing, in order to work here, you have to be intrinsically generous, and you have to enjoy going what we call the extra nautical mile. And we say that because the nautical mile, I'm sure someone's going to know the exact term in this room. I know one of you weirdos will know what exactly. I think it's 1.5 miles. Anyone want to?
1.1.
Thank you for being here. Because a mile isn't enough. So this can be as simple as someone calling from their room and saying, oh, I need an extra towel. And rather than saying, oh, great, well, I have some up here on the front desk. It means you get that extra towel, you get a washcloth, and maybe a special little lotion, and you walk into their room and you give them what they ask for above and beyond, and you make sure that they don't have to come get it. This means if someone tells us that it's their birthday before they check in or when they check in, we give them a card, we give them a gift. If we're out and about, we might go to Trader Joe's and get them flowers or a balloon. We do extra weird, cool stuff here that makes people think, wow, they really care, because we honestly do. If someone is traveling with kids, you might see one of our employees sit down and color with them, or play. We have old school Nintendo that we put up here at night, playing a game of Mario with them. These are some of the ways that we get to be generous with our guests. But preserving hospitality also means being generous financially. Sometimes it means letting someone stay for free when they accidentally booked the wrong night, didn't show, you didn't sell the room, they show up the next day, totally their fault. It means saying, it's okay, we got you. Sometimes it means offering a bottle of wine when a room wasn't cleaned up to someone's super high expectations. And sometimes it means giving a partial refund when a lab guest next door was up till 2 a.m. singing the Bee Gees, which has happened. To preserve hospitality, the ultimate goal is to make people feel happy and feel good. And it's not worth nickeling and diming them, not only because it's not nice, but because of the idea of today money and tomorrow money. I don't know if you've ever read a book by Danny Meyer called, I think it's Extreme Hospitality, but he talks about today money and tomorrow money. So by simply refunding someone or giving them a gift, you might lose a little bit of money today, but you gain a connection and a long-term customer. So by preserving hospitality, Though it may seem to some people that you're losing money, you're actually making money. And luckily I have a group of investors that super believe in this concept, which is very rare, and I'm very thankful for them. Lastly, preserving hospitality is about making people feel at home and comfortable, as if they were visiting a friend or a doting auntie. Probably my most favorite review I've read of this place that said, I should have pulled it up, but basically the guy said, Hotel McCoy is so cool. It's somewhere in between couch surfing at your friend's house in Mexico, staying at your grandma's house, staying with your best friend from college, and an Airbnb. And I was like, I like that. Put that on a shirt. It's important that people feel like this is their hotel when they stay here, that their feedback matters. Every guest that stays here gets my personal email address, and if they email me feedback, which they often do, I always respond, and some of the feedback from guests has actually made big changes here. The repeat guests need to know that we care about them. We have such a good relationship with some of our repeat guests that I just got an email from one that said, I wanted to let you guys know we're leaving Phoenix for the summer, so you won't see us for 3 months. Didn't want you to worry. That's so awesome. And we would have worried. We would have been like, where are Molly and Doug? Like, did we do something wrong? Are they okay? Do we need to go find them? So I thought that was really cool. And when our guests are here, whether they're coming one time or whether they turn into repeat guests, we want them to feel loved and cared for, and we want them to feel ownership here. It sounds weird, preserving hospitality, and it's definitely not a modern idea. But we believe that if we preserve once vibrant buildings, and we preserve the culture of the community we live in, and we preserve the art of hospitality, that we just might make a difference, and we might revolutionize the travel industry in a positive way. And that, my friends, is AM Nicole giving a talk. If any of you guys does anyone want to see a room?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. If you guys give me about 5 minutes, we'll meet outside that door there, and then, is that cool?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll wrap up.
Okay. I'm sweaty now. I don't like public speaking. Thank you guys so much.